some tips on how to sponsor your family relative. It is not necessarily your spouse, because not everyone found the right match. Tip on this. If you have, typically this is what happens when people ask me about their sibling. Like, oh, my sibling doesn't want to come to America. I've already asked him or her. No, no, no. They're going to change their mind. It always happens. So many people call us and say, John, oh my gosh, I should have just sponsored them 10 years ago. Yeah, hell, you should have. Yeah. Once you become a US citizen, just file a dang petition, okay? It doesn't require your brother or sister's signature. It is your petition on behalf of that family member. Now, look, let's say 10 years later, because the average wait time just for the visa bulletin itself is 10 years. So let's say 10 years later, you're like, oh, finally, the prior date reached. It shows up on the visa bulletin. And then you ask your relative, hey, by the way, I sponsored you. Of course, you told them in advance. But at that time, look, if your relative at that time says, no, I'm good, then sure. At least you all you spent was $535. Look, you don't need an attorney. And I know it's weird for me to say that. You don't need one. We're happy to assist you, but you don't need one for a family petition. Really, just because honestly, with ours, I feel bad if someone hire us and we know it's going to take 10 years. You know what I mean? So honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be alive. I could be dead. I hope my law firm continues. But honestly, you just got to just file a petition. Okay. So that was tip number 1. Tip number 2, understand the visa bulletin and how it works. Understand what a priority date is. We have a video about this on YouTube at least, because let's say it's not necessarily like an F4 petition, regardless which family preference petition. Because if you're sponsoring your spouse and you're a citizen, there's no need for you to worry about the visa bulletin, okay, folks? But if you're in any other family relationship and you file a petition, or you're the beneficiary, the immigrant, foreign national, you need to understand the priority date. Because if your prior date shows up current and then 1 year passes from that date, you are SOL, shit out of luck. And you got to refile that petition and probably wait another 5 to 10 years. Can you imagine that nonsense? So if you are the beneficiary, if you're the foreign national, I know your family member is trying to do their best, but they got things to do. You got to rely on yourself to keep track of this. Otherwise, you don't want to restart the process. And that is super annoying. Super annoying. You could have told yourself, shoot, I should have listened to John Ting on this, because you can't depend on a lawyer for this. All right, we got a lot of cases, and this is just, I mean, I think there's some technology out there that can help you, but I'm not aware of it. There's got to be, especially with ChatGPT and all this is available. ChatGPT won't help you with this. You got to set a reminder for yourself. If you're like F4 category brother or sister, you know it's going to take 10 years, generally speaking, okay? So, you could check once a year, but if you're like F2A, F2B, at least once a year for the first couple of years, for the first year, and then maybe when it gets closer, within 2 years, check every month. Like, it only takes like a few seconds. Don't give up on your case. But by not giving up, you need to be proactive. So put it on your calendar. Just like you put your work on your calendar, you put your happy hour on your calendar. So that's really tip number 3. Put it in your calendar. Do not forget. If you don't know what to put on your calendar, then follow right up here if you're on TikTok and down here below, okay? You really need to know about this, okay? If you need to know what links to follow or check up on, then you definitely need to follow us here on TikTok and down below. Bonus tip right here, okay? Tips to sponsor your relative for green card. So let's say you've gone through, you finally had your visa bulletin, your prior date reached on the visa bulletin, okay? Categories F1 through F4. And you're like, finally. Okay, so your US citizen or resident family member submits like their financial documents, like tax return and other documents, right? Preferably W-2. So this is where the tip is. If your sponsor has their own company, which God bless them, running a company in America or anywhere is difficult. And I feel like I still have a lot to learn. One of the things in terms of companies I've learned the hard way is that, you typically start as like a sole proprietor. you haven't incorporated yourself like entity like LLC or corporation, not necessarily necessary, but tax wise. So it depends on that. But tax wise, USCIS, State Department, they don't say you can't not have a W-2, but it's just a lot easier for them. So we have encouraged some clients who have their own business, if there's a way to like plan in advance, 6 months to a year in advance before that time period to upload those financial documents, to start considering how you document how you get paid, your income essentially, right? Some people just don't have an accountant or CPA at all, and that or bookkeeper. That makes it very difficult. So some clients are like 1099, they're independent contractors. That makes it a bit difficult, but it is still possible. But we just want to have a smooth process, okay? So hopefully that gives you an idea.